Hello, fine folks. I am here today to talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, first of all, this is going to be a spoiler review, but I'm going to give this film a positive review, and I have to give you some of the caveats for why I'm biased, okay? And why I actually think this film was pretty perfect for the timing culturally. Now, I know many years after the fact, the cultural impact is probably not going to be factored into the reviews as much, but this film, I think, is pretty impeccable. So first, I'll start a little bit with my background with Mario, and then I'll go into it. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. So, long story short, I played Super Mario Bros. When I was a child, like the original NES game. I played it when I was a kid. And then when I was a teenager, I got into some of the Super Nintendo games, like the Super Mario World. And then in high school, I got into the Super Mario Galaxy games. And then, of course, in middle school, I had the DS. I had the Nintendo DS. And I have dabbled in the Wii U games. I, of course, played Mario Maker. And I've played a little bit of Mario 3D World. I have 3D Land, and I have Super Mario, New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS as well. So, pretty knowledgeable about the games. And I've, of course, seen a lot of the commercials and stuff for Mario. I like to play the original Mario Bros. On the NES, although I usually play Kaite Kita Mario Bros. For the Famicom Disk System. That's my preferred method of playing Mario Bros., the original Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong as well. I like playing the original Donkey Kong, original arcade Donkey Kong, and DK Jr. So, this film was made for me, right? Not me specifically, but the kind of person who is probably, people in their 30s and 40s who have played Mario for a long time. It's primarily for us and for our kids, right? To take our kids to. I didn't go see this with any kids. I just saw it with me and my buddy because I don't have any children. But, people in that demographic, that's what it's made for. So, that is why I'm biased in favor of liking this. And then I need to talk about the major thing with this film, because this film does have, I think, a pretty good script. It has some things about it that needed to be more finely tuned. But I think the fact that you have Illumination making this film and the history of video game movies, and especially the history of Nintendo licensing out their products and Nintendo making decisions that seem inexplicably bad sometimes. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's true. The Nintendo Corporation makes decisions that are inexplicably bad for what they do as far as their PR and their products and things, and what their fans want and what their fans don't want. So with all that being said, the fact that even a good film was made, I'm going to give this a big thumbs up for that reason. Now, I know that you should probably judge things as they are, but I can't just detach myself from this context that I know in this film. I mean, like I said, the fact that anything positive came out of that is great. And then there were some really, really great things about this film. So I will start with the things that I was nervous about, the things that my expectations were blown out of the water, basically, and then some of the things I had criticisms about, and then what I think overall, and then I'll loop it back to the cultural impact, okay? So, first of all, Chris Pratt. That was the big thing that everyone was skeptical about. Chris Pratt as Mario. Because the actress who plays Peach, I'd never really heard of her before. I'm sure I've seen her in things, but I didn't, recognize the name. I know Jack Black. Jack Black as Bowser is the most perfect casting that's ever happened. So Jack Black gets a 100% pass for being in that role. And then beyond that, he completely outperformed my expectations. I think everyone else was really good in the roles. Chris Pratt as Mario, I would give that probably a 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10. And here's the reason. There's a couple times where it's a little bit uncanny seeing Mario's face and that voice coming out of it, and that voice being a very normal, kind of straightforward voice for an animated film. Mario's voice, as you know, is very, woo, wahoo, woo, like it's very over the top, you know? And so hearing Chris Pratt's voice come out of Mario when you're expecting him to talk like this, it's very jarring at first, but I think it's something you get used to in the film. And once you're used to it, I think it really works. From the trailer, you got to keep in mind, when this trailer dropped, all we saw was just everything looked very much like the video game, and then we just saw Chris Pratt's voice coming out of Mario's face, and that's why a lot of people were skeptical and didn't think it was going to work. But in the context of this film, Chris Pratt as Mario really does work. Chris Pratt is playing a character that's from this sort of failed plumbing business. I mean, it's kind of a little bit out of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. I mean, the beginning kind of hints to that as well. Or not hints to it, calls back to it. And Mario, he is kind of coming into his powers. He's not established as a hero. Now, it would have been interesting to have Mario established as a hero, but everybody already knows Mario established as a hero, so doing something different in that regard, I think, works. And there are times where Mario's voice goes up high, and then it really does sound like Mario. So at first I was kind of thinking maybe Chris Pratt couldn't do that, but I don't think that's the issue. I think just the issue was that's not what they wanted. And it wasn't an issue, but we thought it was, because we thought it was Chris Pratt not being able to do it. But I think he could. I think he could have done the voice the whole time. Now, in the beginning, the accent they did for the commercial did sound a little bit underwhelming, but it was for a TV commercial, so I can give that a pass. But there were later times in the film where Mario would be like, woo, you know, and like it really, like, he really brought that Mario energy. And I don't need him to get back up to that point where he has that Mario energy throughout the whole thing. Okay, so that's the voice actors, okay? I think I've gone on about that long enough. Bowser, perfect. Donkey Kong, good. Maybe not great, but, you know, the Donkey Kong voice. Okay, now let's get to the story. This was the part of the film that I thought needed a little bit of a tune-up, but it's only a few little things. It's only a few little things which I would have done differently. The first thing that sticks out to me about this is, well, I'll say the way that the Mario Brothers got to the Mushroom Kingdom, I think that was perfect. I think that was pretty much, I don't really have anything to say about that. It was nice to see him go through the pipes. It was, you know, nice to see him landing in the Mushroom Kingdom. Now, first little thing there, though, is once he actually got there, it was a little weird how quickly he got used to it and how quickly he was thrown by that. But, you know, this is part of what I'm going to bring into this review when I'm talking about the cultural impact. Because how do you make a good film out of something that everyone pretty much already knows is the thing? And how do you not fall into the pitfalls of previous video game movies of making it so different from the material that that's what throws people off? I mean, think about this. You've had the original Mario Bros. Movie, which pretty much did everything different possible, while just keeping names and superficial things the same. You've had some movies like Mortal Kombat, which the fans really liked, and I really like that movie. I think it's a great movie, but it does get kind of cheesy because it requires you to have some knowledge about that kind of thing. And how do you not fall into the thing of making it too campy, where it's too self-aware, and it never takes itself seriously, right? How do you not fall into the pitfall of those things? Well, the answer is you basically can't unless you have an A-list writing team. And for this film, I think they had good writers, but because of all the overhead on the film, you kind of need a passion project to do that kind of thing. Almost like something you'd find on YouTube, like a YouTube video that has a really high budget. This wasn't that. So, given that fact, and given the fact that they need to make a movie that actually sticks to the game, because almost no video game movies have actually done that, keep in mind, spoiler warning for Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2 movies, Sonic movies decided to put Sonic in the real world, which, I hate to say this, tremendously irritated me, because Sonic has a great world to be in. Sonic has all these sprawling, wonderful, colorful worlds, and it's like, nope, we're going to put him in the human world and have him be 3D animated, and oh man, that got to me. Now, they did get away from that a little bit later, but I really did not like the way that they did that. And when this movie was announced, I was just thinking, if they put Mario in the real world, I have no interest in watching this. I'm lying. I would still watch it anyway. But they did not do that. They put him in they put him in his world. They had everything be 3D animated, and it was so many references. Reference. Now, again, I know for this purpose of the script, having him go into that Mushroom Kingdom and not doing a whole thing where he's extremely thrown off by it and getting used to it, I understand that. In the same way that I understand that people probably wanted something a little bit more fleshed out that wasn't just full of references, but like the fact that we already know this and the fact that people are expecting something that's like the game, I don't really think we need Mario to go through that big period where he's going, whoa, what's this? You know, we don't really need him to be doing that. So I think that works. I think it does. Now, like I said, you could have had it be completely fine-tuned and just change a few of those things and give him a few more lines that were written differently to kind of explain away why he's not spending time doing that. But again, like, it works so well in the context of the culture and the film, I think I give that a pass. Something in the film that I don't give a pass, my first kind of big gripe, is the way they did the character of Princess Peach for a little while. I think what they ultimately ended up doing worked. And let me explain this. One of the major things they do with female characters in films nowadays is they're so scared of making a damsel in distress that they basically make a female character who has no faults and never fails. And if she fails, it's because of something beyond her control, like a betrayal or something. Like another character betrayed her, and that's why she failed. Or something changed that she had no way of foreseeing. Like, you almost never have, like, in this type of role, where you have a really cool female character who's, like, a warrior. You almost never have her, like, make a decision that causes her to fail and then she has to grow from it. That's not something that's done tremendously often in new films with female characters. And that's very bothersome to me because, I mean, like, even in this film, Mario, he has a failure. Like he tries to do something, he does his best and it fails and it's his fault, you know? So, I understand them trying not to make Peach the damsel in distress because basically that's been what the games have been since the 80s. You know, save the princess, you're the guy, you save the princess, she basically does nothing. Now, in later games it's changed a little bit, but there's always another game where they go back to you saving Peach. So I get them trying to change that, but then doing kind of a complete 180 where she is almost like the one who trains up Mario, like she trains up Mario. That is something that is already jarring enough, but it could have worked if they would have had her be not so, I hate to say this, but not so jerkish to Mario. Basically discounting him immediately because, like, he's the first human that she's ever seen, basically, the first other human. And she basically treats him like, you know, I guess I'll save your brother from dying if you prove yourself. Well, wait a minute. That doesn't make you a boss. That just makes you unlikable when you do that. So, like, I get what they're trying to do. But that, I think, was a little over the top. In that moment where she's like, he's not important. Like, you know, it's his movie. So, like, I get the humor in that joke. But, like, there are so many shows and movies that are competently written with male characters and female characters who work together, and, you know, the female characters are just as strong as the male characters, and they're also likable. And I just think that's a kind of sweet spot that Hollywood, for whatever reason, has forgotten how to do. Because Peach was completely unlikable. Not completely unlikable. Like, her skills at least made sense. So I'm not going to make the Mary Sue argument here, because Peach, like, you know, she's grown up in that Mushroom Kingdom. There's no reason why by the time she got to that obstacle course, by the time she got to the age of that obstacle course, she wouldn't be ready, because she's around this stuff all the time. That makes sense and holds water. But having her be like, you know, only if I like you, it's just, that didn't work. However, by the time you got to the end of the film and you saw her, like, okay, I see what they're doing, because you have to have Mario rescue Peach, but they're trying to establish her as a competent character before they have Mario rescue her. So he's still basically doing the same thing, but it's in a different context. So that I respect. Because, if they would have changed the format so much that, like, Peach ended up saving Mario in his own film, that would have been a little bit extreme, I think. But I get what they're trying to do. But again, in the beginning, they could have had her at least be like, hey, I just can't be sending my troops to do absolutely everything, but I'm aware of who Bowser is, and you're the first human I've ever met, so I'll make an exception for you, because you seem like a really nice guy who's down on his luck. Like, having her say something like that just, didn't try to thwart expectations all the way, all the time, would have been better. And that's another kind of thing I'll say about this film is, I'm getting kind of tired of them thwarting the expectations of the hero's journey, because it's, they supposedly the hero's journey has been done to death. But, like, think about this. Think about your favorite sci-fi film or fantasy film from, like, when you were a kid, right? That's basically the hero's journey films. You can think of quite a bit. Like, think of all the big properties out there that have a hero's journey type story. You can probably think of a lot of them because it's a format that's worked, right? But it's so rare that we get, like, one that nowadays that actually does that, like that continues that trend, right? It's I would say past around 2005-ish, like, we just kind of stopped doing that. And nowadays, it's not like, oh, I'm parodying it because it's done to death in films. Well, it really isn't. Like, everything is trying to parody it now. And it's almost like they're afraid to have a straight-up hero's journey where you have someone start from the small, humble beginnings, and they actually just save the day, and you don't have to make a joke about it. Like, oh, this is usually in the film where I'd save the day. Or, have the hero about to jump up and grab something and then he gets hit in the face with a, banana peel or something. Like there's so many films that do that nowadays. Like, oh, we have to make a little joke here about how this is a hero's journey. Do you? I mean, I don't think the audience really needs that. Like, I think, people aren't going to roll their eyes if the hero just saves the day sometimes. Now, you shouldn't have the hero save the day with no difficulty, but you don't need to be so self-aware about it. That's one thing, and I get it, it's goofy, it's the Mario Bros. Movie. But the Mario game is very, like, it's very straight-up heroic. Mario is the hero, that's what he does. Mario and Luigi, and sometimes Peach and Toad join in as well. So sometimes it's like the four of them working together. But, they are heroes, that's what they do. And kind of muddying that up by doing a bunch of goofy stuff in the ending, about, like, always making jokes about it and having kind of that get disrupted all the time. Like, I think they did that a little bit in the film, and I would have not had them do that. Well, I guess that stuff happens more towards the middle of the film. But it, like I said, it kind of still works. It's just something combined with the thing with Peach. It's fine. Like, I think there are other ways they could have had Peach. Well, okay, actually, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say there are other ways that Peach could have been saved by Mario and still maintained her dignity and not been a damsel in distress. But again, I think the way they did it in the film is pretty good. I just would have preferred them to do it a little bit differently. Okay, so two other nitpicks I have to throw out there. The Luma. What the heck was that? Why do we get this nihilistic Luma that craves death? Where did that come from? I mean, like, okay, if that had been something that was more well-known in the Mario franchise, like something that's usually... Like, if it would have been the actual Power Star that was doing that, or one of the Smiling Clouds or something from the game, that would have made a little bit more sense, but just the Luma is such a specific thing from Super Mario Galaxy, and the Lumas are just really, really beautiful creatures that are kind of cute, and just having that Luma be like that, like, I think they skipped a page. I just think that didn't quite work. I don't really know why that needed... I mean, it was funny, like, don't get me wrong, it did make me laugh, like, but... I mean, first of all, it's surprisingly dark for, like, a kid's film. Mario's not strictly a kid's film. It's more of a family film, especially because of the demographics that are going to see it. But, like, something that kids watch like that, it's just so jarring to see that kind of humor in there. And then what I was talking about earlier, like the hero's journey and disrupting it, having that Luma come up to the screen at the having that Luma come up to the screen at the end and talk about how, like, you know, there's nothing left but the void. Like, okay, that went too far. Like it's, yes, I know, you disrupted what I expected here, but dude, like, that was just so weird and so out there and so random that I just think I would have taken that out. As if I had editing power in this film, I would have just cut that character out completely, probably. That's what I would have done. And my last little gripe was just kind of the Deus Ex Machina of the Star Man, which is weird because that Deus Ex Machina only really works if you know what the Starman is. And now I know I'm using a little bit of a double standard on this because I did say this film is for people who understand the references, and the references being there is kind of what the film is for, because it's there to kind of make up for all the films that just don't, all the video game films that don't do what this film tried to do. I get that. But even knowing what the Power Star is, like, that star in the film was supposed to be like one of the stars from Super Mario 64. That's essentially what it was. Or maybe a Grand Star, if you want to use that. I mean, it wasn't really, the character wasn't coded as a Grand Star, but you could say it's a Grand Star. Some kind of Power Star. It is not supposed to be a Starman. So having that star be a Starman... Wait a minute. Am I an idiot? Did Peach kick Mario, not that star, but an actual Starman? Is that what happened? Did she kick him a Starman? Okay. All right. So this is where I need to be a little bit self-aware. So if the star that Bowser had at the beginning is not the star that Peach kicked him, then that would mean that it's just a regular Starman. But I think either way, like, up to that point in the film, I don't, and I could be wrong, but I don't think we'd seen a Starman yet. So we should have established that as something like coveted, like, oh man, no one's ever been able to get one of these Starmen for a long time, and like, and then have just, it's just weird. I would have preferred them to beat up Bowser with the power-ups that they'd already gotten good at using, like the Fire Flower and the Mega Mushroom and stuff like that, rather than just having it randomly be a Starman. Now, I realize how goofy this sounds to me to be saying a film review, because I'm just, Mario's goofy, right? But that would have made more sense. I would have preferred if, like, they beat Bowser up with that, and then at the end, Bowser's kind of staggering toward Mario, and you're like, oh, he's not that much of a threat. But then his minions start guarding him, and then Peach is like, Mario! And then she kicks him the Starman. That would have been a nice little thing right there. Because at that point, they would have already beat Bowser using the things that they'd already built up. But they didn't do that. But still, like, having Mario and Luigi come together and deliver that final punch to Bowser at the end, that was really nice. And I also don't mind them putting it in Brooklyn at the end. I know that, like, taking it place in a different world, like I know that's kind of a weird thing to do, but I thought I was going to mind it at first. I'm like, oh, why are they leaving the Mushroom Kingdom? Like, why aren't they staying there? But, like, taking it back to Brooklyn and having his family see him at the end, that was a nice touch. And again, it's been done before, but it was a nice touch. It was something that I completely did not mind. And then of course at the end they have Mario going back to the Mushroom Kingdom, so that's fine. Now, they did not have Mario and Peach established as a couple, which was a little weird. But maybe that'll be in another film. I mean, like, it's pretty obvious this thing's gonna have a sequel, right? Because there's a teaser at the end for a sequel. And the film has been tremendously successful, so yes, there's going to be a sequel. So hopefully they'll do that. But, like, just having Mario and Peach be a straight-up couple where Mario is the bigger hero than Peach, and Peach needs to be saved sometimes, and even, like, having Peach save Mario sometimes is fine, but just, like, I don't think we need to have this thing where, like, everyone thinks that just because Mario is stronger than Peach and needs to save Peach sometimes, that we're saying that, like, women are incapable of saving themselves. That's not what we're saying here. Like, but Mario is supposed to be a character who is known for his powers. As in, there's lots of men in the Mushroom Kingdom and in the world who are not capable of saving Peach, and there's lots of other women who are capable of saving themselves. So I just like having one guy who's stronger than one woman, like, I think that's okay in a film, is what I'm saying. So, like, hopefully they don't keep trying to super duper upstage that and anything, unless they're doing it in the way that having, like, Mario and Peach kind of be equals like they are in the game, because I think that's good too. Like, having Mario save Peach kind of the first time, and then having Peach join the team, that would be cool too. But I hope we just don't see more backhanded, like, haha, I'm even stronger than the Mario Bros now. Now it's my movie. Like, that's just annoying. You know, I wouldn't like it if Peach did that, and I wouldn't like it if Mario had that attitude toward Peach. If Mario was like, oh, Peach, why can't you ever save yourself? You're so weak. Like, we're not going to do that. We don't need to have Peach doing that either. You know, it's okay to have characters who work together and like each other. That's all I'm saying. So, that being said, like, I know some people had complaints about the script of the film, and like I said, because of the perfect storm of Nintendo and Illumination and the video game movie landscape, I think this film is opening up the potential for more video game movies that will come after. This was good. It wasn't great necessarily, but it was quite good. The story was fun. It wasn't as well directed, like, it didn't have as much direction as it could have had. It wasn't as quite as snappy as it could have been in terms of the script, but again, the story was good enough. It maintained a fun atmosphere. It was fun to see the characters. It was fun to see Mario and Luigi, and especially Bowser. We got a little shot of Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong. That was super fun. Hopefully we'll have a Donkey Kong Country movie. And, like, it keeps you entertained the whole time. And like, that's the thing with a video game film. Like, video games are not like movies. And movies are a different format, yes. And I would prefer them to fix a few things here and there. But ultimately, this film is fun. It's a fun movie to go see. Maybe not something I'd go see again, but it's a fun film for kids. And I think it's a fun film for adults, too. It is a movie-going experience. It's almost like going to see a performance of a Mario show on stage, you know? Like, you know that performance on the stage, like Mario on ice or whatever, is not going to have a particularly compelling story, probably. And I think this one has an above average video game to film transfer as far as the quality of the story. Like, you know it's not going to be, like, Oscar-worthy on the story, necessarily, unless a lot of things go really, really right, and with a big corporation, that's almost never possible. But, like, you're still going to have fun watching it. You're still going to have a really, really fun time sitting in the theater. When I was in the theater, I was smiling almost the whole time. I laughed at so many of the jokes. There were little inside jokes, like when Luigi's got the little flashlight there, and it's kind of like Luigi's mansion there, and then he goes, Mario, where are you? It's from the commercial, and then, you know, the crowd cheering, Mario, Mario. Like, little things like that, you know, it's just, it's basically a Mario love project, you know? It's just a lot of winks and nods, and I get it, yes, it's a little bit simple, it's a little easy, it's a little self-indulgent, I get that. But it's something that is a good step, it's something that's needed, and it's not something you're going to regret watching. You know, even if it doesn't quite deliver the story that you want, if you were looking for really tight, good writing, but it's something that's going to be fun, it's like a roller coaster, it's something you're going to enjoy watching, and it's something that would be nice to have. Now, if I am going to make a prediction on this, I will say theater attendance is going to be known as very good, and that's not really even a prediction, it's something that's already happened. But I bet maybe streaming sales and as far as, like, you know, digital purchases, I should say, not really streaming sales, but digital purchases and physical purchases might be a little bit disappointing on this film. That's my prediction, and I predict that because usually people who buy things, I think, especially nowadays, having a physical copy, that's for people who want to watch it over and over and over again, and I just don't know that people are going to want to watch this over and over and over again. It's just like when you beat a Mario game. Like, you might go back and play it sometimes, but I don't know if people are going to want to have it, like, I have to have this enough, like they do with, like, something, they go to the theater and it's just like, wow, that script was just really on point and the acting was really on point. this is probably is not going to be that. Probably have a lot of families going to see this, probably taking their kids to see it, and a lot of people are interested in seeing it. So overall, I'd give this film a I'd give it an 8. Yeah, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Pretty solid film. The acting in the film, it's top tier for what it was trying to do. And I think it succeeded very much in what it was trying to do. And the animation, of course, was beautiful. The music, I didn't talk about the music yet. So many cues, callbacks from the music. And I like that there are things in the film that aren't just so obvious about the references. There are little things that you'll probably only pick up on if you've played some more obscure stuff. And I know that because there are some more obscure things that were going on in the film that I missed. Like, there's music playing that's obviously supposed to be like pounding something out on the keyboard, and there was just maybe 2 or 3 times where something played and I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I can tell I'm supposed to recognize that theme. But it was in the background. It wasn't like presenting itself as like being there in the foreground, because when I did catch a lot of those music cues from some of the more obscure things in the games, like they also weren't presenting themselves as like super loud. So it was nice to get that little wink and that little nod, like, hey, remember this, you know? So that was cool. And of course, like I said, the story needed a little bit of fine-tuning, a couple little things I would have changed, but overall, bravo, really liked it. Super Mario Bros. Movie. Have you seen it? Leave your comments down below. I'd say spoilers are fine in the comments. If you're going to put a big spoiler in there, maybe just put spoiler if you want to. But I mean, I'm talking about full spoilers here, so I assume that people reading the comments have already seen the film. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.